Welcome back, midnight viewers, to Father Malone's weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Father Malone, and with me is my co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Ripley Jean. How are you, little lady? You did not join the war college, stop it. What's going on out in the world today? Pretty grim. How about the world of entertainment? Oscar nominations came out. I haven't cared for the show since before the pandemic, but this year my antenna went up a bit thanks to the record-breaking number of nominations for Sinners. 16. That's insane. And now it's guaranteed to win none, just for the sheer irony of it all. No, it'll win some technical. They'll give director to Josh Shafty, but Coogler deserves it. Just like Michael B. Jordan should get it for having to play 2 parts to 1 for Chalamet and Hawke. I can't believe now I'm old enough to feel like those codgers used to feel when something like Paul Newman gets nominated for Color of Money. He's good in it, he's always good, but the Lifetime Achievement Oscar in disguise of a regular acting statue is lame. I thought so when I was young, and I still do, but come on. Ethan Hawke has been killing it for half a century. The one award that does make me very happy is the first new award category since Best Animated Feature back in 2001. They finally are giving casting agents their due. Nominees for Best Casting this year are Nina Gold for Hamnet, Jennifer Venditti for Marty Supreme, Cassandra Kulakundis for One Battle After Another, and Gabriel Dominguez for The Secret Agent, and Francine Meisler for Sinners. They say it's an honor just to be nominated. I think being nominated for a category's inaugural year really is an honor, and it's about fucking time. I know directors are ultimately responsible for the cast, but at the same time, it's like the director saying, yeah, she designed the costume, but it was my decision. The director makes all of the decisions. Spread some fucking credit around, Jesus. I will watch this year's show not because I feel any differently toward the Academy, but because there's another historic first. A vampire film has been nominated for Best Picture. What could be better than that? You see that Masters of the Universe trailer? You want to hear it?
All that stuff that only exists in legends and bedtime stories. Talking tigers, spaceships, and magic swords that can make a man as mighty as a god. Where I come from, that stuff is real. Why did you send me away?
I wanted you to be safe. So I sent you to a place I knew that they'd never find you. There's
This obsession with nerd stuff and sword things, it's not a good look for human resources.
I know it sounds crazy, but that sword is gonna show me the way home.
Sir, you can't do that.
Don't worry, the sword's mine.
Hang on, it's about to get weird.
I have the power!
That's part of it anyway. I cut out everything that was generic action trailer stuff without dialogue. After the I have the power, it's just a bunch of clanging swords and whooshing. We do get to see Skeletor in action, but it just looks kind of generic. We don't get to see him emote at all, and we definitely don't get to hear him speak, which doesn't bode well. Or the trailer people wisely surmised that any voice that Jared Leto has chosen will be ridiculed from the moment it's heard. Smart move, but a frustrating one. The rest of it looks incredibly accurate to the cartoon, minus Orko, Battle Cat, fucking Lockjaw, and it looks fun. I'm going. I've already said on this show, you put Alison Brie in anything and I'm going to be there. But now that she's Evil Lynn, oh man. And in the footsteps, or bootsteps, of Meg Foster in that first Masters movie. So far, that character has been well served. The rest of it looks about as good as you can expect from a big studio. Or in this case, MGM. Jesus, how the mighty have fallen. This is an MGM prestige picture, folks. Moving on.
Pen pals from around the world!
T-Dog wrote in about the Streets of Fire episode from the ongoing Moranis Fest we've got going on the Patreon channel. He writes, "Great show, HP and FM, but you guys are nuts. Michael Pare is not a bad actor. See Eddie and the Cruisers. Eddie Wilson lives." Okay, T-Dog. Dark side is calling now, nothing is real. Great fucking song. Out of the shadow, she walks like a dream. Oh, man. I agree with you. That's a great movie, and Michael Pare is good in it. He's good. I agree. But come on, man, you cannot justify his presence in Streets of Fire other than to look at. He is a very pretty man, and he looks like he stepped off the pages of a pulp novel, but his delivery is so leaden. Which can work in the right part, and it has for him. I'm not trying to give the impression I hate that guy overall, but you're nuts, T-Dog, if you think he's in any way satisfactory in Streets of Fire. Makes me feel crazy, make me feel so mean. Speaking of mean, the Segway train is in full steam today, Midnight viewers. The next couple of missives aren't the usual keep up the good work or hey, you ought to cover Tales of the Unexpected. That's coming, by the way, the Roald Dahl anthology series. Anyway, these are comments from my social media from people I don't know about videos that I posted. If you, dear listener, only know my voice and our only interaction is here on the podcast itself, on my Instagram and by extension Facebook and Threads and everything else, I post these 1-minute ads for the show. That's at midnight_viewing, by the way. It's in the show notes. The ads are 1 minute of back and forth from the show that has the scenes or the shots or whatever it is we're talking about playing in the background. I've literally made over 1,000 of these in the past couple of years. And since Star Trek is such a perennially popular program, any video about the Federation tends to get higher views from people who do not follow me. And then, like good internet people, they let me know that they don't like that thing. Not the video I made or what I'm saying about the subject matter, it's the subject matter itself. Which is fine, it's social media. It's an open forum. But I don't think I'll ever understand the mindset that sees someone having a good time, and their immediate reaction is to throw a bucket of water on them. Which I'm not saying these letters are, one is quite rational and thoughtful, it's just that maybe the intent behind their message isn't really friendly. These are not pen pals. These are penemies. Penemies from around the block. I don't feed trolls on the socials themselves, I just thank them for watching and or listening. I'm going to answer them here, just to prove to myself that they've never listened, nor will they, and I'm leaving off the names. And I'd like to point out that the video they're both responding to was 1 minute of me telling Star Trek nerds to calm down and settle in because Starfleet Academy is the utopia Gene Roddenberry had in mind. Letter number 1, and I quote, Star Trek Starfleet Academy feels less like a continuation of a legendary sci-fi franchise and more like a hollow, corporate-approved content product wearing a Starfleet uniform it didn't earn. This show completely misunderstands what Star Trek is supposed to be. Instead of thoughtful science fiction, moral dilemmas, and big ideas about humanity's future, you get a glossy, shallow teen drama that could have been set in literally any generic elite school with the word Starfleet slapped on it for brand recognition. Remove the uniforms and the occasional name drop, and there's nothing here that feels remotely Trek. Let me address the whole shallow teen drama that could be literally any generic elite school with Starfleet slapped on. This reminds me of an action film criticism that began popping up in the early 2000s. You know it. You love it. It was just a video game. They fought a bunch of bosses, they did some side quests, and then there was a big boss finale. They're all video games. I mean, yeah, they can be, because that's literally every action film ever. Is that not the framework for Die Hard, Commando, Fist of Fury, King Kong? By that logic, Beverly Hills 90210 is just Starfleet Academy stripped of Delta badges, and space battles, and the desperation of trying to wrangle together a federation of planets from square one. Remember when Brandon and Dylan debated that Beta Z ambassador, and she figured out Dylan still had feelings for Brenda after all? I mean, you're not wrong. The specific genre shows are ultimately interchangeable, but this doesn't feel like cosplay Star Trek. For that, you should check out Star Trek Into Darkness. Either of the Abrams films. Though I dig what you're saying, it's not for you, but that's not because it doesn't feel like Trek. I feel like I'm wrapped in a cocoon of Trek when I watch this show. And as nuanced as that first letter was, here's the second one. And I quote, Thankfully, Kurtzman is gone, and the latest woke show has been shelved. Sadly, we get 2 seasons of this fantasy. The woke show he's referring to is Strange New Worlds, which is entering its final season later this year. I agree about Kurtzman. Everything else, go fuck yourself. I'll let Gina Yashir, who plays Lieutenant Thok on Starfleet Academy, say it a bit nicer.
I mean, Star Trek has been woke from day one. And woke is a good word. It's been given negative connotations, but woke just means you're awake and aware of everything that's going in the world around you. And that's what he's always been about, and that's what Star Trek has always been about. And so we're just carrying on that legacy.
And even nicer was this quote Robert Picardo threw out from the great bird of the galaxy himself, Mr. Gene Roddenberry. Quote, I believe humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day it learns to value diversity in life and in ideas. Unquote. I'm glad they brought up Starfleet Academy because I swore I wouldn't. But I failed to mention something in last week's episode. Starfleet Academy isn't the only university at play here. They share a campus with the Federation's War College. Same type of cadets, same types of instructors, except they all wear black. It's basically Slytherin. Hey, there you go, my man. If you want to compare shows, this is a rip on Harry Potter, with science instead of magic. That I would have agreed with. Anyway, a college designed for militarism in equal standing with Starfleet does fly in the face of Roddenberry's ideals. A war college in Star Trek is troubling. And that's maybe a good thing. Maybe it's time to stop saying that they're explorers only when they spend a goodly portion of their time engaged in combat. In space, in hand-to-hand, in Dominion Wars. Maybe it's time to start having the actual conversation of the military's role in the Federation and how Starfleet bristles up against it or embraces it. At least they're talking about it. It feels considered and relevant as opposed to most breaks with canon that are either oversights or just willfully different for its own sake. Once again, see the Bridge of the Enterprise in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. A war college is troubling, but then these are troubled times. And that segue train just keeps on chugging. If you listen to the episode we did about Jason Reitman's film Saturday Night, about the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live, then you're familiar with the notion that I've been an SNL acolyte for 44 years, give or take, since I was able to stay up, or sneak out, really. We had a piece of shit black and white tiny TV in our kitchen that I would appropriate on Saturday nights. I'm no fair weather friend when it comes to Studio 8H and all those who have dwelled within. I've seen the entire series at this point, patching in holes over the years, which wasn't easy. As soon as Lorne Michaels established Broadway Video, he began rewriting the legend of Saturday Night Live. Any reruns were heavily edited, and any videotapes released were never straight up cold open to midnights. They were always some bullshit best of. I say best of as if I didn't own every one of them until Will Ferrell. They might still be releasing them, but who's watching them now that there's an entire streaming channel dedicated to showing best of material? The best ofs allowed us to self-hypnotize ourselves into believing that all the sketches were winners, which has never been true. Even right now on Peacock, where every season and every episode is available, you're getting truncated versions. Music rights being what they are, that's somewhat understandable as far as why the musical acts are cut from rebroadcast. And it also covers any sketch that used a contemporary tune as parody and would now have to, if not pay, at least tangle legally over the right not to. Those are necessary exclusions, but I think Lorne Michaels has used that as a bit of subterfuge to remove some of the sketchier and or deadly boring sketches. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, cut me and I bleed hibernal. I just drank a glass of Bass while I was taunting a happy fun ball. I love SNL. And every couple of years I get asked, are you still watching that? Yes! The nature of sketch comedy is the nature of the show. Highs and fucking lows. If you're in for sprockets, then you gotta be in for anything featuring Jim Brewer. I don't think SNL was as ever radical as they like to believe about themselves. I'm sure it was a constant clash of cultures when they first set up shop in the hallowed halls of 30 Rockefeller Plaza, but freaking out the suits isn't the same as actual televised revolution. They were hitting harder and more consistently and to a much wider audience than anything National Lampoon could ever hope to unleash, and while I don't feel like SNL ever had an espoused ideology, they certainly seem to set their sights on parodying the more venal aspects of our society, without fear. That actually was the revolution with the show. They said what they said, and they stood their ground. Which is probably easy to do when you have a Michael O'Donoghue, or a Robert Smigel, or an Adam McKay, or a Tina Fey, or a Seth Meyers as your head writer. Are any of them available? I'm sure O'Donoghue's corpse is currently smashing apart the lid to his coffin to have his say about the current state of the country and its place on the world stage. I know his sketches would probably go too far, but at least there'd be some fucking effort. The world is on fire, and SNL is doing silly. That was necessary after 9/11. We were collectively shattered and needed someone to remind us that life had joy. This ain't then. We all know joy exists, and we'd like it fucking back now. Every laugh on Saturday Night Live should be of the nervous variety. Instead, we're getting more pre-tapes than ever before, and when they finally do mount a sketch live, it's nonsense. We didn't need Domingo once. It's been on 4 fucking times. We get it. The guy's wife is fucking the wedding singer, and her husband is finding out through song. But they kept having singers as hosts, so I'm sure someone, Marcello Hernandez, kept saying, we've got to use them in a Domingo. Maybe a little too much Marcello in general this season, though admittedly, his Sebastian Maniscalco was fucking hilarious. I don't need a political bloodbath from SNL, but for fuck's sake, South Park is lapping them. Random posters on socials are lapping them. Here's SNL all season. A cold open where all they do is point out, hey, isn't it crazy that all of our rights are going away? Enter James Austin Johnson, he says a bunch of crazy Trump shit, and then the whimsy train takes off, with occasional stops at films featuring gentle period dramas that turn into digital blood-soaked gore fests. It's not only the Domingo well they keep going back to. Remember Wells for Boys? Remember when this show had teeth? You know what? Let's have an actual bloodbath. There's like 20 people in the cast. Knock them down to 8. And 2 featured players. Total of 10. And they've all got a right. Also, if your name isn't Lorne Michaels and you've been with the show for more than 2 decades, there's the door. It should be like Menudo. Having said all that, Jane Wickline is growing on me, and Ashley Padilla would be a huge fucking star if this were any other era of SNL. She radiates sketch professional, and I'm waiting for someone to write her a home run. But overall, if they don't start swinging, then season 51 is my last of SNL. There are entire acts and shows dedicated to absurdism in comedy, and they do it way better than this show has ever done. I don't go to Saturday Night Live for a gentle ribbing, a tousling of the hair, and a warm embrace. I go to see Captain Beefheart end his set to stony silence. And Norm Macdonald saying fuck you to the network chief who'd eventually fire him. Or even something as simple as Shatner telling the fandom what they needed to hear. This whole season feels streamlined, no sharp edges, nothing dangerous. Let's go find some danger. Hit it, HP.
Come and listen to a dog that's hip. Here we go, it's Ribs Picks, yeah!
Thank you, HP. You know the number 4 reason why Las Vegas is better than Paris? Vegas didn't lose a single inch of ground to the Nazi war machine. Nor will it. Now then, what were we talking about last time? Oh, the Jimmies. The crew of tracksuit-clad, scraggly, bleach-blonde, wigged group of ninjas saving young Spike from the zombie horde. All the while flipping and parkouring all over the place. That was kind of a divisive ending. I liked it. It pointed in another direction for telling these stories. Why not a madcap Hong Kong zombie flick? Here comes Bone Temple.
I've been developing an idea about the nature of the infection. When the infected attack, what do they see?
Are you watching, Father? Master. Good.
We travel the land. We search for souls to deliver to hell.
Are you going to leave?
Yes. But obviously we're going to kill you first.
I haven't feared my life ending for many years. But today,
I'm in a bit of a bind. And you're in a bit of a bind too.
I did feel fear. Now, a leap into the unknown. Okay, let's turn this up to 11.
Madcap, this film is not. There isn't even a ghostly residue of that wackadoo ending here. Those crazy Jimmies are really fucking crazy Jimmies here. Grimy and grinningly psychotic, and deeply unpleasant. Clearly not as unpleasant as their namesake, Jimmy Savile, a connection that's never really touched upon in this film, and I found that to be a bit of a letdown, actually. It seemed like a genuinely provocative idea, and without further explanation, it remains just that, a jab at shocking provocation. That's one of 2 problems I had overall with the second in the 28 years saga. Surprise, the second problem is also the Jimmies. But we'll get there. Filmed back-to-back with the first film, this is again written by series creator Alex Garland, and again stars Ralph Fiennes as the man behind that forest of trees made of bone. Also back are Alfie Williams as our lead young Spike, and Shai Lewis Parry as giant naked zombie Samson. We didn't really get to meet the rest of the Jimmies beyond lead Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell, who was so fucking good in Sinners. Ah, Sinners. But the standout Jimmy here is Erin Kellyman. She keeps popping up in all the huge genre shows and movies, but they always seem to be the ones that particular fandom has shunned. She was Enfys Nest in Solo, a Star Wars story. She was the antagonist in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She was in that Willow reboot. And I'd say she's finally got a little recognition for this movie, but it sank like a fucking rock, so there's always work at Starfleet. The parallel plots are Spike's torment, as he's forced to be one of the roving gang of murderous thugs, and Dr. Kelton and his budding friendship with Zombie Samson. Zombie-human friendships aren't new. Dr. Logan and Bub in Day of the Dead, Sean and Ed in Shaun of the Dead. Nor are we unfamiliar with the nature of music in those relationships. Beethoven for Logan and Bub, and Grandmaster Flash for Sean and Ed. Kelton and Samson are enjoying the new wave pop brilliance of Duran Duran. And while there is some visual poetry set to Ordinary World, I laughed out loud when I realized that the song Ralph Fiennes is quietly singing to himself was Girls on Film. It pops up again and again, but there's an even better music cue later. We'll get there. The first film was all about that zombie dong in the socials when it was released. It's the friendship here that's getting the most notice. The bromance between Dr. Kelton and Samson. I fucking hate that term, almost as much as I hate man cave. I'm not denying I fall in love with new friends, male or female. That's how it works. Whatever chemical or alchemical reaction in your head or heart, real friendships are that fucking deep. But bromance is a fucking lazy, buzzy word. Unless we find ourselves transported to gritty 70s New York, I am not answering to bro. Bro is lad to our UK listeners. What would the equivalent term be there? Lad l'amour? They might resent the use of French, but that's an equally stupid term. Point being, this is a really sweet portion of the film. And it's good to know that whether they be infected or human, covered in blood or covered in iodine, an artist with bones or the one who rips those bones from still living bodies, we can find common ground. And that common ground is morphine. Narcotics. Is there anything they can't do? This is a better film than 28 Years Later. Granted, it doesn't have to do the heavy lifting of a half-hour-long exposition dump to get us up to speed. And like other sequels touted to be better than the original, Aliens and Godfather 2, this film benefits from deepening of the characters and limiting of their locations. It's a way more focused film and much more confident in its vision. That vision here isn't Danny Boyle. He turned the reins over to Nia DaCosta. She directed the Candyman reboot I still haven't managed to make myself watch yet, and she directed The Marvels, a film I'm now going to have to go back and watch again, in addition to watching Candyman, because I was floored with the visuals and choices made in this film. In fact, let me temper a negative with a positive. The further explanation of the Jimmy Savile connection is a minor quibble. The main problem I had with the movie is a full act's worth of actions by the Jimmys. They invade a homestead that's been walled off from the infected and take hostages of the survivors that are living there. Which means a portion of this film becomes a home invasion film. Funny Games, The Strangers, The Desperate Hours, both with Bogart and Mickey Rourke. I fucking hate home invasion films. They always come off as the work of a frustrated playwright, the kind in love with their own voice and the need to share with a bunch of panicked characters yelling at each other. Say, I guess Hateful Eight is a home invasion flick when you get right down to it. So watching a bunch of grinning psychopaths as they literally skin a bunch of screaming victims ain't my thing. At fucking all. But that's the story they're telling, and Nia DaCosta makes the scenes just as unsavory as it would be. So there's the positive. It doesn't feel exploitative at all. It feels necessary to show the depths of depravity these freakazoids are engaged in, and what Spike is thrown in with for the illusion of safety. Personally, an early scene where we watch Spike fight another Jimmy to the death in order to even join the gang was fairly representative of this, but what do I know? As distasteful as I found that whole section of the movie, there's a scene later in the movie that more than makes up for it. In fact, I had found my mind drifting back to that early brutality when a sequence began featuring Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. Maiden has appeared in a lot of properties recently. I believe they used the Trooper in Stranger Things a few years back, but usually the track they use is Run to the Hills, usually laid over a sequence of people running. Nail, meathead. And if I remember correctly, Peter Jackson's flick Dead Alive used Sun and Steel. But Number of the Beast? Oh, baby. Satan is just the puppet of Eddie, his marionette. That always made sense to me. Those songs might have been used before in other film and TV shows for a few moments. An underscore, a snatch of a tune coming out of a radio. Not so in Bone Temple. We get a full-on musical number. And I'll say no more than that, because I'm sure it sounds as ridiculous as the Ninja Jimmies at the end of the last film. But it's not that. It's breathtaking. I know a lot of people were disappointed that Cillian Murphy didn't appear in the previous flick, How must he have felt when pictures of that emaciated puppet started showing up online and people were like, look, it's Cillian Murphy. Hilarious. Anyway, if his lack of appearance was a bone of contention, pun not intended but I'll take it, then that feeling shall continue here. This is not a Cillian Murphy jam. They're saving that for the third film, which they'll make as soon as this one is a big success. Uh-oh. I think this might be the end of the zombie line, which is a drag because there are a lot of variables still at play at the end of this film, even though for the first time since the first film, I feel like there was a complete story. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then possibilities. So we'll wait and see. This might end up being another 28 hours later. Hit it, Eddie!
Roxanne, you don't have to put on a red light.
That's doing it for the Roundup. Tune in Friday for the continuation of Trek Fest. It's a baton-handing situation, as we're looking at the first of the next generation theatrical experience with a dash of James T. Kirk. That's Star Trek Generations. If you want to hear it right now, go to patreon.com. You could also support the show by going to patreon.com, and I could really use it right now. I'll say no more than that, other than you're never as essential as you think to a company. Over at patreon.com/Father Malone, we got early releases, we got exclusives, we got requests and answers. But if your money is as tight as mine, then do me a favor and hit subscribe or like or thumbs up or 5 stars. All of that is immeasurably helpful in spreading the word. Thanks everyone for listening, and try to enjoy the daylight.
Torches flame.